Good morning, everybody. My name is Ben Vernon. I'm a fire captain for the City of San Diego Fire Department. I've been on 16 years and here today to share my story. Lucky to be alive, first of all. For those that don't know my story, I was on a medical aid, a routine medical aid I've done 1,000 times. It's a call all of us have been on. And then I end up in a knife fight before I know it, and I got stabbed multiple times, and it almost killed me. And I got rushed to the hospital, and they brought me back. They did a chest tube and had to reinflate my lung and suck all the air and blood out of my chest cavity, and so I survived. But the mental health was actually the more surprising aspect of it that followed later, and that's what almost actually truly killed me, was the mental aspect. And so my story, I just try to bring awareness to mental health, share what I've learned, and that's the story. I travel all over the world now and get to share with firefighters from all over the world, and that has been the coolest byproduct of this, I guess, this accident. But it's been amazing. I mean, here I am in Miami interviewing with you. That's pretty cool.
Thank you. But man, just wow. I heard you yesterday, and I have to say, man, I was looking around just to make sure nobody was watching me, because I was just like,
wiping tears.
Can't anybody see me crying? Gotta keep this man face going on. Can't show any weakness.
Well, you saw from me, I've shared this story hundreds of times, and it still is emotional for me. So yeah, it gets me every time. I tell the damn story. So.
And like you said, so tell us how the day began. Just a regular day with the guys.
Yeah, so I'm working downtown. I'm on our station. We have a heavy rescue and an engine. It's a double house, and then we rotate. And so, our engine is the fourth busiest in the nation. So you get slaughtered, and on average, anywhere from 8 to 12 calls after midnight, right? Like, that's normal. Because we're downtown, we're in the heart of downtown. We have the Gas Lamp District, which is our huge tourist population.
I've partied there.
Yeah, everyone has. And then and that's to the west of us, and then to the east of us is like our Skid Row, right? Just homeless, like tents as far as the eye can see. And so you spend half your time running on drunks in the Gas Lamp, and then the other half on drunks in Skid Row. And so that consists of our day, right? And so the pump, we used to try to do 4 shifts on the pump and then 4 shifts on rescue.
Okay.
But we couldn't make it. Like, you wouldn't survive it. So we started doing 2 and 2. So you do 2 on the engine and then 2 on rescue. We have a 4 days in a go round. Mm-hmm. So you do 2 on the pump, 2 on rescue. And the rescue gets up at night as well, but it's not 12 after midnight. It might be 4 after midnight, and that's considerably better, which is still horrible. It's horrible.
Very horrible. For people who don't know, it is.
Getting up 4 times after midnight is brutal, but it feels like heaven after you've done 12. So it was my turn on the pump. I was, not happy that it was my turn. I think the shift previously I'd been on rescue, so I'd gotten some sleep. And so it's my rotation. My crew and I had been together at least together probably over a year, maybe 18 months. We were tight-knit. We were a good crew. We had a ton of fun. It was one of those crews that in my career in 16 years, I've gotten along with every crew, and I've enjoyed working with every crew, but only a handful that we do things off-duty together. We enjoy each other so much that we then, like, all our spouses come together and we'll go to a ball game. So that's the crew I'm on, right? This tight group. We love each other, laughing all day long. And this is the crew. You wake up at 2 in the morning and we're laughing. Guys are cracking jokes, and you're keeping it light, and you're just having fun. And so even though I'd run 12 after midnight and I could barely function as a human, I was having a good time, right? I was having fun, and I was looking forward to coming to work every day. So being the busiest pump in the city and the 4th in the nation, it's about 4 p.m. We've already run 10 calls. And we're having a good day. It's only 10 calls by 4 p.m.
A good day.
We're like, all
10
right.
10 calls in.
Yeah, exactly. We're like, hey, this is kind of nice. It's slow. And then it's, guys are starting to prep for dinner. So when you're on the pump, you don't have to cook. Rescue cooks, which is, well, we call our heavy rescue, and you guys call your ambulances rescue.
Ambulances rescue.
So I gotta
we're slowly trying to change that.
Yeah, exactly. I got to make sure I don't confuse everybody. So the heavy rescue is prepping dinner, and so my partner Alex and I jump in to help out, and we're, cutting the fat off chicken, and then the call comes in, and it's the trolley stop, which is kind of Grand Central Station. It's in the heart of downtown, and you've got homeless riding right next to businessmen in three-piece suits, right? It's just this crazy dichotomy. I mean, the whole city is hustling and bustling on this system, and we run calls there all the time. And so it's our third time that's going to be at this trolley stop, and Alex and I are both like looking at each other like, man, these trolley security guards, we need to take away their phones, or take away their radios. Like, stop letting them call 911, because they call for everything. I mean, anything. He needs to go to the hospital. Did you talk to him? Did you ask him any questions? He's sitting there. Did you see if he'd be willing to move on before you call us? So anyway, we're not happy. We are cruising to the call, en route. We're talking about the Chargers are leaving and going to LA, and talking about the Padres, and just we're having a good time, right?
Yeah.
No one's getting their game face on for this call. And we pull up at the trolley stop. We can't park right in front of our patient because the trolley tracks, run right down the center of the street. So we park a block away and get our gear and walk in, and I start an assessment on this homeless man. He's intoxicated, like heavily intoxicated, and the trolley security guards are there, and while we're doing our assessment, the trolley is coming and going, and people are getting off and on and moving around us, and pretty basic. There's another homeless man, real tall, wiry guy, and he is agitated and animated and upset, and he's arguing with everybody. And I notice him, but he's off to the side, so I'm talking to my patient, and what I don't see is he ends up getting in the face of my captain, and he's like getting aggressive, and he's poking his finger in his chest, and he's yelling at him, and my captain politely asks him at least once, like, hey man, back up, right? You're in our space. Like,
personal space kind of changes, and you're like, oh, what's going on here?
Yeah, exactly. Like, wow, you were aggressive. And he says, I need you to back up, and the guy's not moving. He's still in his face, and so my captain puts his hand on his chest and goes, hey man, back up, and he pushes him back, and the guy trips over a park bench, and that just ignites him. And what we didn't know is for about 20 minutes before we were on this call, this guy had been getting into it with the trolley security guards, and the security guards were getting into it with him, and it had almost come to blows a few times. And so this guy's incredibly agitated, and we don't realize, just how long
it's a good piece of information.
Would have been nice to get that in a turnover from these security guards, but he's just agitated, and so my captain pushes this guy over, and that sets him off, and he jumps up and he starts punching a security guard, and I don't see any of that. All I know is I'm dealing with my patient, and then I turn, and this guy is beating up a security guard.
So he punches a security guard.
Yeah, just punched the security guard right in the face. I mean, hard. And I'm just like, dude, oh man. And my thought is, I gotta help the security guards.
Right.
And so the fight, these security guards, they check him over this railing. There's the city had put this railing about 3 feet high to separate the trolley riders from your pedestrians on the sidewalk. So it's a real wide sidewalk, but they've cut it in half so that your trolley riders are getting on and off, and then your pedestrians are going by, and they put this little railing up to kind of make it neat and clean. And so the security guards check him over that railing and kind of dump him onto the sidewalk where the pedestrians are. And I'm thinking, well, cool, the fight's over. Like they knocked the wind out of him.
I could go back to my patient.
Now I can deal with my patient, right? And he recovers unbelievably fast and rolls onto his feet. And there's 4 firefighters. There were 5 security guards. 8 of us are on one side of the railing. Well, this one poor security guard is now on the other side of the railing with this guy, and it's one-on-one. And the homeless guy, immediately attacks and just starts punching this guy in the face harder than I've ever seen. But he hit 5-6 times in a row, like right to the face. And I again go, oh no, I gotta save the security guard. And so I jump over the railing, and as he's punching this guy, I kind of dive between him, and I get my body between these guys, and I push them apart. And as I push them apart, I actually turn my attention to the security guard, and I go, dude, are you okay? Like, you just took a beating. Like, you all right? I'm always
Now I got 2 patients.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I'm so impressed the dude was still on his feet, because if I had been hit 5 or 6 times in the face as hard as that guy got hit, I'd be on the floor sleeping. You know, I mean, I would have been knocked out. So I go, man, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm all right. And so then I go, okay, patient's fine. Now let me talk to this gentleman who's upset and agitated and see if I can talk him down. I'm very good at talking people down. I've been successful up to this point, what, 12, 13, 14 years. I've never been unsuccessful. Like, I got this. And of course, I'm missing the fact that we're already punching, right? You're not talking at that point, and I miss that.
Everything's just moving fast.
Things are moving quick. And I always joke, you know, firefighters have 2 moves. We talk or we tackle. And so I start with talking, and I'm like, hey, man, you okay? Like, what? Why are you so angry? Like, what's going on? And as I broke him apart, I gave this guy the opportunity to regroup, right? He's on his feet now, and he's able to kind of scan the scene and see everybody, see all the players. And he rearms. He reaches into his back pocket and he pulls out a knife. I didn't know this at the time either. I found this out months and months later. This guy was a former felon, and he'd learned to knife fight in prison. And what I've learned is when they want to shank a prison guard, they go chest to chest with these guys so that they can't see the knife. And then they reach around behind them and they stab them above the belt but below the vest, so around the kidney area. And then they stab them in the armpit, right, or right in that, because they're wearing a vest, so there's no sleeves. So they get them in the vest, and then they get them in the head when they want to kill these guys. And so that's what he was about to do to me. So he flipped the knife, but what he did is he was smart. He kept the knife behind him.
So you didn't see it.
I didn't see it, but the move, right?
Like,
it was such a unique, like, flipping a knife open. And I think part of my brain went, did he just flip open a knife? But the other part of me is like, did he just reach for his wallet? Like, what is in his hand? Because I remember seeing the move, and I remember thinking that was an unusual, that was an odd move. Like, what is happening? And part of my brain is like, you are in a world of hurt. Like, you are in the wrong place. Like, alert. Like, get away. And so I'm, and of course in my own head, I'm like, okay, I just jumped over this railing. I'm now by myself, right? My whole team is right behind me, but they're on the other side of the railing. There was 9 of us, and it was 9-on-1 at one point, and now it's 1-on-1. This is just me and this guy. We are locked in on each other. He just did a weird move. I think he's got a knife. I don't know what he has in his hand, but
could have been a gun.
Could have been a gun, absolutely. But I knew enough that the fact that he was keeping his hand hidden, right? I'm like, uh-oh, like, I'm in a bad spot. And so I started going, hey, man, easy, easy, easy. Like, calm down. Like, holy shit, like, calm down. And I'm trying to back up, right? I'm backing out of there. Well, I run into that railing, and my butt hits the railing, and that panic of like, oh shit, I'm stuck, right? I'm trapped. And he runs at me, and he gets chest to chest, and he reaches around and he sticks me in the lower back, just below, or just above my belt, just below. If I was wearing a vest, right? If I was wearing a vest, he got me below that. He severed a nerve in my back, missed my kidney by about an inch. Then pulls the knife out, sticks me in the chest, in the armpit, just below my.
He was going for the kill.
Oh, he was going for the kill, and that is a kill shot, right? I mean, he ended up breaking my rib and puncturing my lung, and then he pulled the knife out and he tried to stick me in the head. Luckily, and of course, I don't know I'm being stabbed, right? And my first thought is when he reaches around and he's punching me in the back, I'm like, man, you fight like a weirdo. Like, who punches people in the back from the front, right? Like, I'm like, what is happening? I could not, my brain could not calculate quick enough, right? It just could not do the math. And so he stuck me in the chest, and then when he pulled the knife out, it knocked all the wind out of me. All the air in my chest went out sideways, and I doubled over. I was like, and when I doubled, he tried to stick me in the head, and he missed, and I actually felt the metal go across the top of my head. And he cracked me in the head, and knocked my sunglasses off, and felt like he just punched me in the head. And I was off balance, and as I stepped to the right, I stepped on somebody's foot and rolled my ankle, and like really started to fall to the right. and my engineer was standing right behind the railing. He grabs me and he kind of stabilizes me, but then he realizes I'm in danger, and so he, with all his might, throws me to the right, and I'm moving, man. I'm flying to the right. Yeah, and as I'm going to the right, my partner is coming. He went over the railing and crosses in front of me to tackle the guy. And talking to him later, he didn't see a knife either. He just saw the guy punching me. So he jumps over the railing and he tackled the guy and he lands on top of him. But the guy still had the knife in his hand. And so he just reaches around, and while my partner's laying on top of him, he's sticking him in the back. He had time this time, because he's laying there, he can't go anywhere. He stuck my partner back, and then he started twisting the knife inside of him. And yeah, opened him up and left a big gaping wound. My partner doesn't see the knife. He feels the sting, and he thinks he's getting tased. And so he's yelling, stop tasing me. Well, the guards jump over and they're pepper spraying. And they pepper spray the bad guy. Well, they pepper spray my partner as well. So they blind my partner. I mean, he got the worst end of the deal.
Oof.
Dude, he got the worst end of the deal. He got pepper sprayed, he got stabbed, and then he got, instead of those clean, neat cuts, he got open wounds. And at that point, the security guards, my captain and my engineer, are on top of this guy. They peel the knife out of his hand. My partner rolls off the pile. He can't see, he's blind, and he knows he's bleeding, and he knows he's been stabbed. I'm still trying to figure it out, like, what the fuck just happened?
What?
Yeah, sorry to cuss, but I was like, what just happened? And almost immediately, though, I go, and I couldn't take a breath.
Yeah.
And so then I go, okay, and I start feeling warm, wet liquid in my shirt.
Like, I'm opened up.
Yeah. So I go, okay, I can't breathe. I got warm, wet liquid, and I felt the metal go through my hair. I go, that dude had a knife. I go, that's what was in his hand. I go, holy shit, I just got stabbed. And that realization of, like, not only that, but then not being able to breathe. I know I have a pneumothorax, right? Immediately I know that. And then I know the difference between a pneumothorax and a tension pneumothorax is time. It's just time. As air slowly builds up in your chest cavity and then it starts pressing on your heart. That's it. And so I felt like I had this timer. It's like, oh my God, I have a timer. Like, I don't know how long I have, but this is going to kill me if I don't get to the hospital. Man, it's hard to describe that panic, that. And so then I can't take a deep breath, and I want to, but I'm also in my head going, well, if I breathe slow and shallow, maybe I can buy myself time, right? And I'm playing this game in my head of, like, how do I survive this, right? How do I, because I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. So my thought was, I got to get to the hospital. How am I going to get there? How is this going to work? This is not going well. And then I was telling you at breakfast, I had this moment where I didn't want to go down because I didn't want the guy to see that he got me. I didn't want him to see that he won. And so I'm tripoding and I'm trying to breathe, and I grabbed onto the handrail, that 3-foot handrail that got stuck behind. And I just remember, like, okay, I got to stay on my feet. I got to stay up. And as long as I'm on my feet, I won't die. But if I go down, I'm done. So I got to stay up. The railing is life now, right? That railing became life. I needed the trauma bag. I needed trauma dressings. I needed the chest seal, right? The hyphen seal. I need those things for me and for my partner. Quick clot, right? I need all that stuff. And that's in our trauma bag on the rig. But I remember thinking, I can't let go of the railing. And so I kind of watch, and the railing, I follow it. It goes all the way, but it ends up about 10 to 15 feet short of where our rig is parked. And so, mayhem's going on, right? My partner is sitting next to me. He's blind, and he's just sitting there, and he's bleeding. All the security guards and everyone else is attacked, stabby. And, sorry, I like calling him Stabby. That's his nickname. There's just a dog pile, and it's just asses and elbows, man. Just big pile of people. And so it's me by myself. My partner can't help me. He's blind. And so I'm looking, I'm like, I got to get the trauma bag, but I can't let go of this handrail. And so I follow it, and there's 10 feet of space between the handrail and the rig. And I go, well, I can't I can't let go of the handrail to get to the trauma bag because I'll die in that 10 feet. You know, if I let go and I try to make that 10 feet, I'm going to die. So I didn't do anything. I just stood there. And I laugh later, right? I mean, that handrail didn't mean shit. I don't know where that came from. You know, in my head, I had decided that that was how I lived, was holding onto the handrail. So I just didn't do anything. I just sat there. Anyway, we call, you guys call it a 315?
315.
Is a code for all hell's broken loose. Send help.
Cops are coming.
We have the code. We call it cover now.
Okay.
And so we yell on the radio, you know, cover now, cover
Everybody's
now.
Everybody's coming.
Everybody's coming. And they did, man. I mean, yeah. I mean, there were engines and trucks that were coming from 3 districts away, which would normally probably get you in trouble from a chief to be so far out of district. And then the ambulance, there was an ambulance that was dispatched to a call, but they were the closest unit. And they got on the radio and they go, hey.
Clint, we're not going to this call. We're going to this call.
Right.
We're jumping this call.
And they said, hey, we're the closest. And dispatch said, no, you're already on a call. And they said, man, they said, no. Man, I can talk about stabbing all day long. When I talk about all the people, all the people that risked their lives, their careers, to help me, that's hard. It's hard not to get emotional. Stabbing's no big deal now. That's not a big deal, but talking about people who, you know, are violating policy to get to me, I can't pay that back. Man, can't pay that back. Anyway, so yeah, engines, trucks, ambulances. We probably only need 2 ambulances. I'm sure 10 showed up, you know. But they grabbed me and I think, I don't know how they determined that I was in worse shape. I think it's because, you know, I couldn't breathe, and I'm telling them, I can't breathe.
You could just look and you like,
That's
when you
probably
get that
what it was.
experience, you like,
Yeah, that's probably what it was. But they grabbed me first, and they put me on a gurney, and they moved me to the back of the ambulance. And then, and one ambulance had shown up. They had jumped the call, right? They had dropped the call they were on. They jumped the call. They're first there. They grab me, and they throw me in the back. And then someone said, hey, man, you know, do we have room for Alex? And they said, absolutely, we'll make room for Alex. Well, I didn't know this, but right as they said that, another ambulance came tearing around the corner. And so they grabbed Alex and threw him in that ambulance. But I didn't know that. And so I'm laying on the gurney, and they go, hey, can you take Alex? And they go, yeah. And I went, okay. And then they went, never mind, and they closed the doors, and the ambulance takes off. And I am screaming. And I'm fighting. Because I'm like, we did not just leave.
you're thinking the
Right. Right. I'm like, we did not just leave my partner. And so they're holding me down, and I'm pissed, you know. I'm ready to fight everybody. And they're like, no, man, another ambulance grabbed him. Like, he's okay. So I was like, oh, okay, all right. But
another key piece of information.
Maybe start with that next time. Like, never mind, there's another ambulance that's already got Alex. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so I was pissed. But then, okay, I calmed down, and then we're rushing to the hospital, and you know, I hear him say, hey, man, they're on the radio letting them know that we're coming, and they said, you know, blood pressure was 100 over 60, now it's 90 over, you know, 40, and I'm like, oh shit, the skins are, pale, cool, diaphoretic, which I didn't know any of that, and I'm hearing that, and I'm like, oh no, like this is bad, these are bad vital signs. And then they retook my blood pressure, and I said, what is it? What's my blood pressure? What is it? And they're like, don't worry, man, we got you. And then what's funny is the guy that was taking me to the hospital, a guy named Donnie. Donnie is one of my best friends. I hear them go, hey, what hospital are we going to? And there's two hospitals in downtown that are literally side by side, but they break up the trauma by geographical area. And so everybody west of the 5 freeway goes to UCSD, and everybody east of the 5 freeway goes to Mercy. Like you got to know what block you're in, etc. And Donnie says, hey, we're going to UCSD. Or no, he goes, we're going to Mercy. And I go, Donnie, that's the wrong geographical area, man. That's the wrong hospital. And he said, I don't care. I said, I don't care. My wife works at Mercy. He goes, we'll get better care there. Which is not true. First of all, his wife is not a trauma nurse. Right? But just to kind of show
She
you
knows somebody, what?
But his mindset is like, his mindset is I got to take you to my wife. And my mindset, I'm like, oh, that's a good plan. Like, okay, I like this plan because I like his wife. She's nice and she will take care of me. And of course, neither one of us are like thinking in the trauma room, she's not going to be there. She's somewhere else in the hospital. But you just kind of get an idea of the panic and the chaos that follows an event like that. So I went to Mercy Hospital, which was not the correct one, and then Alex went to UCSD. So both ambulances were only 2 blocks apart, but that split our team, our whole department, right, went to both hospitals.
Oh.
And so you have engines and trucks at both hospitals now, trying to figure out who's who at the zoo, right? I mean, it's just chaos. And engines and trucks that were coming. Now you got engines and trucks that aren't coming from 3 districts away. They're coming from...
Everybody's coming.
Yeah.
Everybody is coming. Headquarters is going to clear out. Everybody's coming. Mutual aid. The boys know from the other station that we're going to move up, we're going to run their calls, and we're going to make sure that we take care of each other.
Yeah, and so I saw, we pull into the hospital, and there are engines and trucks already there waiting for us. And they're from way out, right? And I mean, I know them. I'm like, you guys are going to get in so much trouble. Like you guys are so far out of district. And there were probably 50 of my people, that's what is that? 12, 15, engines and trucks, ambulance crews. Yeah. And I remember being very happy to see everybody there, like seeing all of those people there for me was great. And we get into the trauma room, and I mean, the first thing they did is strip me naked in front of all of my people. And but I remember I was hurt enough that I'm like, I don't care. Like, I just don't care. Like, whatever, just save me. Like, get my lung working again. And so they did a chest tube, and they inflated my lung and got all the air and blood out, and then sewed the tube in place, so they could keep suction on it for a couple days. That was ridiculously painful.
Like how did it feel when they put the chest tube in? Immediately felt difference in the breathing?
Well, so I mean, first of all, the thing's the size of a garden hose, right? I mean, it is a huge hose, and that got shoved into my chest cavity, which I'll be honest was not fun. I was not happy about that. But when they did, and they're like searching for the pocket, so they're kind of in there fishing around, and then they got the pocket because it had a vacuum on it, right? And it's looking, and then when they hit that pocket, air and blood came flying out. It looked like, that suction, you're suctioning the last of the soda out of the straw, right?
Yes.
It kind of gurgles. Mm-hmm. And so I saw air and blood, go flying through the tube, and then I just went, and I could take a full breath. And I remember that was the first time I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna be okay, right? They got my lung. I can take a full breath. I'm gonna live. no tension pneumo for me. I'm like, okay. And I remember kind of relaxing a little bit, like, all right, like I survived, right? So I survived. So I spent 3 days in the hospital, and then they sent me home. They said, look, it's going to take about 2-3 weeks. You know, let's make sure your stitches heal, and then we're going to send you back to work. And I was like, this is a good plan. I'm excited to be part of it. Like, that was a close one. Woo! Good job, everybody. Like, we had dodged that bullet. Like, let's, you know, but let's get back to work. And so I went about 10 days at home. I had opiates, and I was taking opiates to help suppress the pain. But after about 10 days, like, I knew how, like, I was starting to really, really enjoy the opiates, and we all know how addictive those are. So I thought, okay, I got to quit this stuff cold turkey. I did, and then the nightmares started. And these nightmares are not like anything I've ever had in my life. They are the most realistic, terrifying nightmares. I went to sleep that first night, and I dreamt I was back at the trolley stop, and I was in that knife fight again. And, you know, Stabby comes at me, and he sticks me in the back. But this time I captured his hand, and I trapped his hand. So the knife is in my back. His hand is right up against my skin, but I hold onto his hand so he can't pull the knife out. And so he couldn't get my lung. And then I grab him by his ear, and I sweep his leg, and I trip him, and I throw him on the ground, and I climb on top of him. And then I quickly take my hand off the knife, and I grab him by both ears, and I start cracking his head into the pavement. But I mean, I can see him as clearly as I can see you. I can smell urine on the street. I can feel the sun on my neck. The trolley goes by behind me, and the wind kind of rocks me. I mean, it is so detailed. And so I'm cracking his head on the pavement, and I want to do it just so that he goes limp. And so like 2-3 times, and he like lets go of the knife, and he kind of like gives up, and he's like, ugh. And I remember going, okay, good. Now is when I can start hurting you back. And I decided that the best way to do that is I'm going to bite off his face. And so I'm holding him by his ears, and I sink my teeth into his orbit, and I bite as deep and as hard as I can, and I just sink my teeth in, and I bite so deep and so hard that my teeth, the bottom of my teeth, capture on the underside of his skull. And I remember thinking, oh man, I'm not strong enough to bite through skull. You know, this isn't going to work for me. And so I back up my back teeth just a little bit, and then I can feel his eyebrow. And so I got just flesh, and I can feel his eyebrow tickling my tongue. And I'm like, got it, right? Like, now I can bite. And so I bit through his face, and blood squirted in my mouth, and I tore off a piece of his flesh. I tore off part of his face, and he's screaming. And I'm like, no, this isn't working, right? Like, I need to kill him quick. Now I want to really kill him, and I want to hurt him. And so I put my thumbs on his eye sockets, and then I just force them into his head, and I just gouge so deep and so violently that his eyeballs rupture, and they feel like grapes, right? And they pool in my hands, and now he's screaming bloody murder. He's in a lot of pain, and he's screaming, and to taunt him, I start screaming in his face. Well, when I do that, I wake up, and I sit up in bed, and I'm actively trying to gouge out his eyes, and I sit up straight, and I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, you know, ah! And now, you know, now it's 2 a.m. that first night, right? I am soaked in sweat. I can taste blood in my mouth. I bit my own tongue. I can feel my hands are sweaty, right? And I'm just soaked in sweat. My shirt is almost see-through. My heart rate's about 150. My blood pressure's in my ears, and I'm just, you know, my eyes are dilated, and I feel like I've just murdered somebody, you know, just ripped their face apart. And I remember just thinking, like, holy shit, like, whoa, that was gnarly. And my wife is laying next to me, and she's curled up in a ball, and she's pretending to be asleep, you know. She's just like, Jesus.
I can only imagine what she's thinking. She's
oh,
like,
yeah, what is going on? And so I go downstairs, and I sit in the dark, and I drink a bottle of water, and I just remember trying to, like, okay, man, like, calm down, right? Calm down. And I remember that first night, I go, well, that, of course, right? You get a gnarly event, gnarly nightmare, like, duh, this is normal, no big deal. Well, so I can't go to sleep after that. I stay awake the whole day. I'm exhausted. But I remember that second night, I'm like, okay, take two. Let's try this again. And that second night, I go to bed. I have that same exact nightmare. I gouge again, and I gouge his eyes out. I bite his face off, and I wake up screaming, soaked in sweat, tasting blood in my mouth. And I'm like, oh, really? Like a second time? Like, Jesus. Downstairs, drinking water, trying to bring my heart rate down, watching the sun go up, watching the sun go down. Night 3, let's try this again. Gouge his eyes out, rip his face off, wake up screaming. 4th night, 5th night, 6th night, 7th night, no sleep. And every time I go to sleep, I have this exact same nightmare. I violently murder this guy, and I am so angry. And I just rage on this guy. And I wake up tasting blood in my mouth and screaming and shouting and soaked in sweat. And I'm starting to get worried. Right now I'm like, okay, shit, what is going on? This is not good. Something's wrong. Like, uh-oh.
I might need to see somebody.
And the timer, I'm supposed to be going back to work here now in a couple, about a week. I'm like, holy crap, I got to get this under control. So yeah, I got to see somebody. My whole violent incident was caught on film, and the news showed the film, and they showed it in slow motion. I didn't know that the security guards were wearing body cameras. I didn't know that a guy was standing right behind me and basically filmed my attempted murder from my point of view, right? I mean, just stood right behind me and filmed the whole thing.
And he didn't help?
Right, exactly. Yeah, thanks for filming. Maybe next time put the camera down. Jump into the fight. But I didn't know any of that had happened. And so as I'm going through this and I'm starting to think I'm in real trouble, that film was released to the media, and the media showed my event on television. It was surreal. It was surreal to see my fight in slow motion on film, when I can tell you, when you go through an event like that, you replay it in slow motion anyway. So it was like they took it out of my head and put it on TV. It was surreal. But I remember that was the moment when I thought, oh man, I can go get mental health help and no one will make fun of me, because you can see my attempted murder. This is great, because we have the same stigma on the West Coast that you have on the East Coast. If you ask for mental health help, you're weak, or you can't be trusted on calls anymore, right? Like all of the same bullshit, stupid. We have the same stuff. And I remember thinking, well, with this film, because you can see my injury, I'm okay. I can go get help and no one will make fun of me. My reputation will stay intact. And so the first guy I reached out to, a workers' comp psychologist, didn't understand our job, didn't get it, some of my favorites, I said, hey man, I'm having nightmares, I can't sleep. And he said, well, if you can't sleep, the best thing to do is lay off the caffeine.
Yeah, that's the answer I was looking for.
Right. And I'm
you went to school to tell me that.
Exactly. So you have a degree on the wall, and that is your advice. One of my favorites, I did end up telling him later, like, hey man, I'm really angry and feeling very violent, right? Like I am always ready to fight. I said, if you send me back to work too early, I'm afraid I'm gonna kill somebody, right? The very next person that even looks at me sideways, I'm gonna finish them off. And he said, well, Ben, if you're feeling stressed at work, just don't go on any calls. And if we got
I'm gonna hang out with a Dalmatian.
Exactly. But I mean, if we have any chiefs listening to this podcast, can we maybe work on that policy? Like, if you don't want to go, don't. Yeah, hi, my kid is drowning in a pool. Okay, the firefighters say that sounds stressful and they don't want to come. Right? So I'm like, buddy. So he had a lot of gems that were just the stupidest things I've ever heard.
They find the best doctors for us at Workman's Comp. And you're like...
Yeah. Well, and Alex, my partner was having nightmares. He went to EAP, and he sat down with the lady, and he started talking, and she started crying, and was like, hey, I don't know if I can handle this. Maybe don't tell me these things. And he's like, okay, who do I tell then? Like, you're literally a therapist. Like, but she didn't want to hear it. And so he went to another EAP, and the lady said, yeah, if you're having trouble sleeping, the best thing to do is lay off the caffeine. And so it is funny to me, this search for culturally competent therapists,
Right.
it is so much more important than I think we realize. Because here I am, I've gone against our culture to seek professional help, at risk of my reputation. And the guy's like, just don't go on any calls. Don't drink coffee. You'll be fine. It's very disheartening. So I was very depressed. I was terrified of going back to work. I knew I wasn't healthy mentally. My lungs holding air and the scars are healing, but mentally I knew I was out of the game, and I was scared to go back to work, and I didn't know what to do. And that's when a buddy recommended a police psychologist. I'm so desperate, at this point. If he'd been like, hey, go see a circus clown, I would have gone, right? I would have gone. But he recommended this police psychologist, a guy named Dr. Mark Foreman, who happened to be a former San Diego police officer himself. So culturally competent.
Yeah.
He was there, right? He got it. And so I met him, and I immediately connected with him. I knew this guy was the real thing, and he got it. He got our culture. He got our humor. He had the same sense of humor we did,
Right.
Like trauma is funny and should be enjoyed. You know what I mean? Like he had that same dark humor. And so he immediately started helping me recover. And then the reason I love to travel and share my story is he introduced a treatment called EMDR.
Right.
Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. Something I'd never heard of before.
I'd never heard of it either.
So yesterday was the first time you heard about it?
Yes.
Okay. And see, that to me, it's been around for 30 years. And there are firefighters I've talked to all over the country that have known about EMDR and love it. And then there's a lot of guys like yourself and myself, never heard of it, didn't know it existed. It's a very easy treatment. It's stupid simple. It almost makes me angry. It's so simple. It's such an easy thing to do. But we started doing EMDR and working through that call. And I could feel after every session, I was getting better and better. And I could feel the stress leaving. I could feel the anger dissipating. And I felt stronger and more in control of my emotions, of my rage, right, was all dissipating as we did this EMDR treatment. And I just felt so good to work my way through that call and to process it correctly. And then I felt amazing. And when I realized how it worked and what it was doing, then I went back to him. Before I returned to work, I went back and I EMDR'd probably the top 5 calls that have bothered me the most, in my career. I realized like, hey man, I've been carrying these calls for 20 years. Can I please offload these as well? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. And so we used EMDR to process other calls that had bothered me. And so when I was done with that, I felt stronger, more in control, and more ready.
Better coping skills
and more ready to run medical aids and traumas and horrific calls, more confident. Because I also know, right now, if you and I run on a dead child together and it's a horrific trauma, one of those calls that could end your career, right? Just something horrible. You're going to try and carry that call your career. I'm going to go EMDR and process the emotions properly and be done with it after a week, right? I mean, the call's still horrible. That kid still died, and I still am sorry it happened, but I don't carry the weight anymore, right, with EMDR. So for those of you who haven't heard of it, you got to check it out. Look into it. It is an amazing
Say it again.
treatment.
EMDR?
EMDR. Yeah.
Boom. EMDR. Check it out.
Check it out. It's amazing treatment. And it's something I recommend, if you're checking out a therapist for the first time, ask them if they're trauma informed, and do you do EMDR? And that should give you a pretty good idea of if there might be the right fit for you. So.
Do you still have any of those triggers? Because like for me, I'm not comparing myself to you in any way, but just some of those calls and somebody said something and it just, you're like, then the flashback, you're like, oh, now I remember that call. It was like.
Well, sure. And I still think about all those horrific calls. They're still there. What's not there is that emotional, like, the lump in your throat and you're fighting back tears. And so you don't want to talk about it, or you get very angry because you didn't think the call went well. If we had done better, if we'd been there faster, if we woulda, shoulda, coulda, if we could have done this, then the outcome would have been different. Right. And you carry that anger with you. EMDR dissipates the anger, dissipates the sadness, I still remember the calls, and I'm, you know, but what's great is I take the lessons from them without the anger and guilt and shame.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Yes. How long was your treatment? Like, is there a period of time? Is everybody different? It just depends.
For sure, absolutely, it's different how long you take it. That just the stabbing took me a couple months to work through. That, I mean, it was multi-layered, right? I mean, there was a lot going on. The guilt of getting in a knife fight, right? The anger that I got my partner hurt. The guilt and shame of not getting the trauma bag and treating my partner because I wouldn't let go of that stupid handrail, right? The anger and shame of being the first in the ambulance and leaving Alex behind, right? I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. You know, I wish I had insisted Alex go first. I wish I had done more for him. You know, I wish I had just finished that fucking fight in the first 2 seconds instead of trying to talk to a guy. He's already punching people in the face. We're not talking anymore. So why am I putting myself in a position to get my ass kicked when I know talking is done, right? Talking's done.
We're past that stage.
We're past that stage. And I did not get that memo, man. And I had a knife. I didn't stab him back, which of course is not the answer.
Not the answer.
It's not. And now,
but we still think about it. You're like,
right? Why didn't I stab him back? Right? Just get one good lick in. But, and I'll tell you how I'm so grateful now. I have a lot of gratitude in my heart. You know, being in trial, even though he was the only one with a knife, I mean, his defense attorney was gnarly. He was very talented, and he came after us and did everything he could to make it our fault. If there was any video of me pulling out a knife and stab, you know what I mean?
That would have been it.
That would have been it. That would have been it.
Indefensible, and he would have walked.
Exactly. And quite frankly, maybe should have if I'm pulling a knife trying to stab him too. I don't know. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful. I've learned gratitude in the whole thing. I'm grateful because I have a good story to tell that is impactful.
And you live to tell about it.
I live to tell, and I get to be in Miami talking to you, man. I mean,
come
on.
You're not a line of duty death I have to read.
Right. I did not get carried by 6, you know, and draped with an American flag. I am so grateful I get to be with my family every day. So grateful I still get my job. It didn't end my career. I get to keep working. And I'm stronger than I was before. You know, that post-traumatic growth is a real thing. I am so grateful.
You mentioned that yesterday, and I never heard of that before, even thought about it, that post-traumatic growth. I was like, yeah. I even put it in my phone. I was like, I got to remember that one. Yep. That's a keeper.
It is, and it's rare, right? That whole expression, that which doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That's not entirely true. You know, it can break you. And
yes.
And so I am grateful that I am stronger because of it. So
you're back to work?
Back to work. I promoted to engineer. I got hurt in 2015. I promoted to engineer in 2018. And then January of 23, I got to promote to be a captain. So
boom.
Dude, it's a sweet gig. Being a captain on a crew is a lot of fun.
Like, my name changed again?
Yeah.
Because really it was just Rick. And then it's LT.
Yes.
And then it's hey, Cap, and you're like,
you notice no one calls you by your name anymore. You're Cap.
You lose your name.
Yes, you do. And I'm like, wow, that's weird, man. I'm no longer a Ben. I'm captain.
And how's the rest of the guys who were on the call that day? How's your partner, and how's everybody?
And I do like to share this with people. You know, I got really good mental health help. I didn't stop after the workers' comp guy failed me, right? I kept going. I kept trying to get help, and I found a therapist who understood us, and he helped me. My captain did not do well, right? He felt responsible after he pushed the guy over and basically kick-started the fight. A lot of guys on the job blamed him for that, and they said, you know, you are responsible for getting your guys stabbed because of your actions. And there were guys at the firehouses that wouldn't talk to him. They would turn their back on him. And he took that obviously very hard. I mean, he already felt guilty, but then to get blamed, that's a hard pill to swallow.
By the guys. That's even tougher.
Yeah, yeah. And so that was rough. And he was already a drinker. Now he really started to hit the sauce. You know, that was his coping mechanism. He ended up getting in a fight with his girlfriend, and he hit her. And he was arrested. and charged with felony assault. And so I went, it's what you call a wobbler. So the judge can decide if it's a felony or a misdemeanor.
Okay.
And so I found myself in court, almost a year after our event, trying to explain to the judge why this should be a misdemeanor. And that's a very hard position to be in, because obviously I don't condone domestic violence in any way, right? But I also don't want this captain who hasn't gotten good mental health help, whose coping skills were horrible, right, in alcohol.
Right.
I don't want to see him lose his career and everything that he has worked so hard for because of this event. And I know the event is behind it, right? And so I'm talking to the judge and I'm trying to explain EMDR and how he needs to be in therapy and not be blamed. That was a tough pill to swallow. And the judge was very kind. He smiled, he listened attentively, and then he charged him with a felony anyway. And so luckily he was given an ankle bracelet and he didn't go to prison, but lost his job, right? Lost his job. So, and then Alex, who I still love to death, and we text probably once a week. He and I were both actively involved in the fire academy and teaching in medic school and on the USAR team and doing all these things. And he has very quietly, he's also promoted to captain, but he now works at a quiet station. He does not do a lot of outside activities. He doesn't help out in the fire academy. He goes in to do his job and then he goes home. And you know what I mean? And so
Right.
I feel like we lost him anyway, because we lost this amazing asset who was actively involved in helping in every aspect of the job and is now just does the bare minimum.
Comes to work
home.
and just goes home.
Yep. And then my engineer, same thing. He promoted to captain, so the three of us are all captains now. He wasn't blamed for anything. Nobody was mad at him. He blames himself for not moving fast enough, not doing more. And he has quietly kind of, that term, the quiet quitters, quiet quitting. He's gone to a station. He does his job. He goes home.
Right.
So we lost two really active, really good dudes, personally, in my opinion, to just
that one.
One event, and you lost three guys, right? You lost the captain for sure, he's gone, and then the two guys who were active and always giving back to their community and giving back to the job, now just come in, do their job, and go home. So that's how the whole crew, the moment I was stabbed, all of us were within 3 feet of each other. We were all standing side by side, like all right there, and the outcomes have been wildly different, right? And so you talk about the importance of mental health and taking care of yourself and getting good therapy.
Good therapy,
right?
It's
now I get to travel, I get to speak, I get to share my story. I still teach at the academy, I teach in medic school, I'm actively involved with USAR, right? I'm still engaged.
That's the word there.
Still engaged. I still enjoy coming to work. I'm excited to go to work. I put my uniform on and I got a big smile on my face, and I come in and I'm working with probies who are just tons of fun to be around.
They keep you sharp. they keep you sharp.
Some of the decisions they make, though, just boggle the mind, don't they? You're like, that was your first instinct to do that? That was the thing you chose to do? Like, really?
They need some experience. They need to run a couple thousand calls.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. But anyway, so yeah, I really, really, really advocate for good mental health help. I advocate for culturally competent therapists, and taking care of ourselves. Drinking is a terrible coping mechanism, and so yeah, and just bringing EMDR to light and sharing my story so that people understand what EMDR is and how it works, and that's why I'm here.
That's awesome, man. I'm glad you came down. I'm glad you got to meet, and fire departments are the same whether you're in Miami, East Coast, West Coast. It's all the same. It's all the same.
What do they say? Different clowns, same circus.
Same circus, yes. Same circus, different clowns. And I definitely know what EMDR is, and I got to go check it out. And I know we have a big resiliency program here, and man, I hope if they aren't already doing it, I just didn't know about it. I hope they implement something like that here and can definitely help our guys, even if it's one person,
right.
Just one person.
It is a game changer. It is a game changer. So yeah, check it out, try it. And I'm telling you, you might not be having nightmares. you know, or you're not having any issues. But why carry the guilt, anger, rage, shame, you know, whatever those calls that bother you? Why carry that, right? EMDR, man, just offload that frustration and anger. Just offload it and live your life to the best, man. Do it. Just get rid of that.
I'm even thinking about some of those calls too, and just like you said, some of the smells and the just something somebody says, and it just brings you back, and you're like,
yeah.
Well, if you want to be found, how can people find you? And if somebody says, hey, I like this guy's story, I may want to bring him down and have a talk.
Yeah. So, I started doing this so much, I hired a manager. And her name
big
is,
time.
You right?
Big time now.
Dude,
what?
I have people.
You got people.
When you're like, hey, have your people call my people, I actually have that. And it's wild to me. So Chris is my manager. She's amazing. She handles all my bookings and all that stuff. But yeah, www.benvernon.com. And then it's ben@benvernon.com or chris@benvernon.com to, you know, arrange bookings and fees and travel and all that bullshit.
Yeah, I hate paperwork. Just talk to somebody else.
It's just so weird how this has developed into almost a profession, almost a second career is traveling and speaking. And I love doing it though, and it is a passion because I want to bring mental health awareness and EMDR awareness to every job on this continent, man. Just I want my people to enjoy their career, right? Our goal, when my 30 years is up, I want to turn in my gear and go, man, that was fun. Like, thanks for that wild ride. Like, thanks, right? That's the goal. I want to end on that note. I don't want to end hurt. I don't want to end broken and miserable. I don't want to end bitter and angry. You know what I mean?
We see a lot of guys.
Yes. I want to turn my stuff in and go, that was a blast. Thanks. That's my goal. And so that's my goal for everybody. I want everyone to end their career that way. Like, hey, man, thanks for the ride. Woo! Now I'm gonna go do something else, right?
Awesome, and you can still do it physically because I mean, there's some guys you see the memos. This guy retired 3-4 years ago, and you're like, oh, he just died, or just something happened to him, or he's not doing good. He's in hospice, and you're like,
right. Oh, that breaks my heart. I want to be retired longer than for how long I was on the job, right? Work 30, retire for 35. That's my goal.
Awesome.
That is the goal. So, yeah. Hey. Thank you so much for having me.
No, man. Thank you, man.